thank you all for coming. And thank you, Robert, for the introduction, and Pikene Broen, and Sven Helge Urheim, who thought I could actually do this. Because I'm a social scientist, I'm a researcher. What do I know about the future? And in terms of what this is all about, the visionary Arctic, what we're not talking about is really what our Arctic will be in the future. And so this is essentially what I'm talking about today. But to just give you an idea of where I'm going, it's in the title of the talk. So who is the Arctic? In a sense that I hemmed myself in when I came up with this title, because it's rather limiting and it's complicated and it's obvious at the same time. So I'm going to be talking about hegemonic discourses about the Arctic. So that's the talk. I'm talking about, I'm also going to be talking about the images of the Arctic, and of course that's the image. And I'm talking about the future, what I see the future of the Arctic to be, or perhaps should be. And I know as a social scientist I shouldn't be prescribing things, but I think it's fun to do it in this forum, so I shall. And so that's the imagination. So this is essentially the outline of the talk today. And I have, I think, 90 slides, so I'm going to try to keep talking really fast, but if I talk too fast, please put up your hand. So, in essence, this is my vision of the Arctic, and this is as many words as you're going to get today from me, and I'll repeat this at the end, but mostly it's images, but for this slide it's words. So, obviously, where we are at the border between Russia and Norway, what I see a vision of the Arctic is being open, with a great deal of openness. So that means also not just free flow of people across these borders, but eventually a breakdown of those borders, that we won't need visas to travel across. An openness meaning that there will be open immigration. Coming from Canada, a multicultural state that has had a multicultural policy since 1969, and coming to Norway without an immigration policy, this is where that's coming from. And of course, being an immigrant to Norway. And a North or an Arctic that is not reliant on non-renewable resources, and also not reliant on transfer payments from the South. And that's more certainly indicative of the Canadian North as well as the Russian North. An Arctic that is sustainable, that has sustainable communities and economies, that is plurilocal as well as global. And certainly where we are is part of that conversation. And going to this openness again, it'll be an Arctic that is multicultural and mobile, with a deep sense of cultures, histories, and traditions. And note that cultures, histories, and traditions are in plural here. It's not just sticking to your own kind, in a sense. So being aware of those kinds of identities in the North, and also appreciating them, and having intersections of identities, not just being, let's say, just an Inuit who sticks just to traditional cultures, but might be an Inuit who is a CEO of a large corporation, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And an Arctic that has a robust and a growing population with a high standard of living. And of course, a robust population has to come from migratory or from immigration, as well, of course, from natural increase. And that's where the high standard of living comes from. And an Arctic that is environmentally responsible. I meant to put a period there, but it's good that it's a semicolon, because then we can sort of perhaps have a conversation about what your vision of the Arctic is, or what your vision of living in the Arctic is within the context of living here in the North.